We are back for another episode of what has been a fantastic season so far. No bad races, battles everywhere across the track. And we do it again. 3 in a row now, boys. The new regs are clearly working. It looks like Ferrari may have a leg up, but even with that leg up, we're getting fights all over the track. It's been an awesome start to the season. Really couldn't ask for more.
It's been incredible, super exciting. I mean, throughout the entire stretch of the race, whether it be the bottom field, midfield, or the top of the field. And like you said, Ferrari is showing no signs of slowing down. Speaking of signs, that's a discussion to have. I'm starting to get a little bit worried about signs, so I'll admit. But Ferrari in general, Charles, is blowing away my expectations, that's for sure. So unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect weekend, right? A perfect weekend. There's crazy stats about how many, he's one of the youngest people to have a perfect weekend, but just literally you couldn't ask for more out of Charles. Especially so far this season, he's pretty much getting everything he can out of that car. It's been pretty incredible.
Hasn't he just about won every single race he's ever started on pole?
Yes.
I think
that he's been able to.
Carl, you're right. Yeah. Yes, that's right. That he's been able to start. Yes.
I mean, that's an insane statistic. Well, I mean, it's not like he's putting up Max numbers or Lewis numbers or Nico Rosberg numbers, but it's like just to go off that stat, that's incredible. And I mean, like, hat off to the Ferrari team. They're doing an incredible job,
Well, he's always been able to qualify high in cars that weren't necessarily the top, 1 or 2 cars, and been able to pull out weekends. Now we are able to see what he can do when he consistently has a top car every weekend in qual. He's got to be.
And that's a good point that I was just going to make was like this season more than anything is showing, what we've all wondered in the past, like, oh, well, if you were to put X driver into X car, what would they be doing? Now that everything's kind of been a little more evened out here, and Ferrari clearly has the best car on the grid, it's no longer just the name brand, either Merc or Red Bull, or obviously Ferrari's always been the legendary car, but, they've fallen off the last few years. And it's like seeing, Charles has always been in my mind, a top 5 driver on the grid, no matter what. I don't think we can argue that. But the fact that now he's given a good car just shows when you're given a good car combined with a decent driver, more than decent driver. But I mean, it's game over. It's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
Versus Lewis or Max, who are still struggling.
I want to hear a bit more from Mattia Binotto because it is kind of interesting. It's like Ferrari is seeing this fantastic success, and it's like I still feel like our Ferrari team principal is still kind of quiet. It's like the media just wants to focus on Mercedes and Red Bull.
They're trying so hard. Yeah.
Here we have this like silent killer hiding in the dark who's like now obvious to everybody. It's like, okay, Ferrari, this wasn't a fluke. Ferrari is an absolute force. They're back. They're crushed. Like this is incredible. I just want to hear more of them. Like the gossip continues between Mercedes and Red Bull. And it's like, dude, let's get Ferrari in this damn mix.
Yeah, and we might see that fight later on in the season with Red Bull if things turn around here. I wonder if Max's struggles have been a fluke so far, but clearly there's some fundamental things wrong with that car that have been happening. But it seems like something that Red Bull team should be able to figure out. But they have to do it quick, right? When you're 20 points behind the race. We saw this last year. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, just because look what happened with Lewis last year. He came out of nowhere. So same thing could happen with Max, and we're only on race 4 here. So a lot to come, but how quickly can they turn around?
Right, and with Max and Lewis last year, I almost felt like it was a little more competitive even early on compared to the way it's been right now. Like Ferrari to me is just running away with this thing, at least Charles and Ferrari. I mean, I know we're only 4 races and I'm not going to say we're running away with this. I shouldn't say that, but there's a clear gap here, even between right now, first and second. Like, I mean, it's like last year, even Merck was still kind of fighting for it and they were in it, Red, it was at least kind of that battle pretty early on. You could tell, okay, this battle between Lewis and Max is going to be a season long grind. Uh, we could be looking 2/3 of the way through the season at Charles and Ferrari just running away with this thing.
Yeah,
Unless there's I agree. I hope not, but it's they're dominating.
yeah, and they're dominating, and it's sneaky that Max is so far down in the driver's standings. I think he's 6 right now. That Merck has just been able to find a way when it's been a lot of negative around Mercedes this year. Yet there you have Charles at second in the driver's standings, just sneaky, something that really isn't being talked about at all. And that's something that, potentially if Red Bull continue to struggle, that could be what we're looking at for the rest. We're having more of a conversation around Mercedes and Ferrari than we were Red Bull and Ferrari.
You mean George? Are you saying George in
Yeah, I mean,
second? Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
George just kind of snuck up out of nowhere, and he's in second place, and I think he's around 15, 20 points back, but he's still there. One race, Charles doesn't finish, George wins. Flip flop. So
yep,
The
closer
driver's
than any other driver.
I mean, between Lewis to George, even throw Max in 6. I mean, from 2 to 6, it is absolutely stacked. That is a one race change up. Like, we could see anything happen. Max could fall right into second place. I mean, that's what's so cool. It's like these driver standings up in the top 10 are pretty tight, except for Charles has double what what Russell's got just about, and it's like, holy hell, like, okay, looks like we're competing right now for second. But to Kel's point, look what we saw Lewis do last season.
yeah.
It's such a long season.
I feel like we do this in every sport, right? We do this in the NFL. After the first game, we overreact. We do this all over the place. We're 4 races in, so the storylines that we're talking about right now could be absolutely thrown away and ridiculous in 6 weeks here. And an indicator of that is the first 3 weeks. McLaren, we thought they were absolutely done. They're back in the midfield. Are they going to be competing for a top 3 spot? Absolutely not, like we wanted. But could they be that number 4 car? Who knows? We're going to see if that was just a fluke and that car just could perform on that one track, or if they just figured some, clearly really big flaw that was happening in the first 3 races.
I think it was an indication. The fact that both cars
wasn't just Lando
showing is definitely, to me, thinking this is not a fluke. They've, tweak some things. You got a good team principal over at McLaren. You got good drivers. Lando Norris is freaking incredible. It was just, I was really excited to see that McLaren and, Danny Rick, even though I doubted it at the beginning, I stand corrected. He showed up. He got some points. He did what he needed to do.
We all doubted it.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Earlier in the year, I remember towards one of the end of the episodes, you guys said, what if Danny doesn't finish, top 10 in Aussie? And I had
I was like, are we going to talk about him as what, asshole of the week or whatever we're calling it?
So I'm very happy that did not happen.
I was stoked. Top 6.
You know who asshole of the week is already.
Let's just hope they can keep it going. I know Lando, if he has the car, can keep it going. Let's see if Danny can keep it going.
Danny Rick is the outlier.
He has to keep it going. At this
point,
I don't know what year that contract is on, but he has to keep it going because there's a lot of eyeballs in him now. He can't just sneak in and out of the top 10 every now and then. He needs to be pretty consecutively up in there. So it's going to be interesting.
And it's still just as we're talking about, it's like anything can happen right now. We are 4 races in the season. Like, it's like McLaren could easily just, like, if they have like another 4 races here and they're in that top 6, both of them, like, let's say that wasn't a fluke and that happens. I mean, we're having a totally different conversation here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's still all up in the air.
Yeah, and we go into Imola with Ferrari as the favorites on their home track. I think that was going to be pretty obvious. You'd be surprised they're pretty heavy favorites, especially Charles right now.
I love that, though. I mean, can we ask for anything better going into Imola? Maybe any other race you could make an argument, but come on.
Yeah, and we're
Everyone's a Ferrari fan this weekend.
the scenes are always incredible, every year for Charles. I think this is going to be a special one. But a lot of
It's gonna be
pressure
so good.
for him, right? A lot of pressure. This is potentially the most pressure he's ever faced in his career. He's never been in this position where leading a title fight, clearly leading a title fight, and then going into his home track and then having perform on Saturday. And Charles is known for having these little tiny little slip ups on Saturday. So he can keep it together in his home track and pull it home.
I think he's gonna crush it. I mean, I'm putting him as a number one slot for this week. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but like I'm putting him in it. He won at Monza, dude. Like that was huge. To have your first career win in Formula One be at Monza, like that's fantastic. And now we're at Imola, like another fantastic track, home for Ferrari, and like. Yeah, first place for Charles this week, and I have no doubts he's going to perform.
I agree. I mean, we'll get to that part. I totally agree, though. I mean, just like if you're just a general fan, again, I'll echo. I don't care who you are rooting for, what team you're rooting for. This is going to be a fun one to watch, just from the fans' perspective. With Ferrari leading the charge the way that they are right now, I know the three of us have not been watching F1 long enough to really be watching when Ferrari was a top team and going into one of these races, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to actually like just truly see that energy on the TV and stuff like that. It's like, this is our first time really seeing it with our own eyes. Like, I'm excited.
Yeah. And as much of their pressure as there is on Charles, I think there's maybe that much more on Max this weekend, right? You have to bounce back and end up at least two and show that you can be back fighting with Charles. And we can't have car issues again. Like we have to put in a consistent effort this weekend and no slip ups. And I'm not saying it's on him. I think this is more on the engineers, but we got to get that car back in a consistent form.
I mean, the scary thing is Checo drove a good race, solid race. He was still over 20 seconds off pace.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Whoa, what's going on here? Like that, we're talking like that's like Mercedes status 4 years ago, where it was just like nobody can touch this. Like nobody can possibly come into this. And so like 20 seconds off pace. I mean, like at least last year, the battle between Max and Lewis, like pace wise, close, always close.
Yeah, and they were close. We've had races where they were close, and then last weekend there was just more issues with the car, same as race one, and it's he looks like he's right there, and then the car just gives up on him. So I think it's going to be I'm predicting a bounce back weekend. It's just how tight are we going to get? How are we going to cut down that 20 seconds? Can we cut that down to 10? Can we have him and Charles fighting in some corners? We need to get back to that. We can't just have Charles leading out in front and Max 20 seconds behind.
Yeah, and I would echo. Oh, sorry, Carl, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, Kel, you said something at the beginning of this that like, Charles has pressure on him because it's, Ferrari's home race or things like that. But I would argue that Max has double the pressure on him going into this weekend. I mean, you're talking defending world champ right now. He's already DNF 2 races. Like, you gotta figure this out here real quick. And again, it's not him. I think we can all agree that it's not, a Max problem. But it's something that Red Bull is going to need to get ahead of this, either this race or maybe next race, or else we need to start having conversations about where they're going to be finishing, or at least where Max is going to be finishing in this entire season, just mathematically, like unless some crazy things happen.
I think the big focus, if I was Horner this weekend, it has to be Saturday. It has
Agreed. I totally agree with you.
We got to get Max on a pole position, because I genuinely feel like, the Ferrari has quicker pace, but I strongly believe that Max is the most aggressive driver on the grid.
He's the best driver out there.
I think he can really, defend. I think it would be he can defend strongly against Charles versus like having to chase down that Ferrari pace. So if we can see a Max on pole this weekend, I think it's going to make for a really, really close, interesting race where it almost comes into strategy of determining pit. Is it a one pit or a two pit race? I think that's where we're going to see this weekend. If Max can make that appearance on Saturday, I think that's what we'll see. And I'm rooting for him, dude. I want a close race.
Yeah, I want
Totally
a close
agree.
race. And I want a team that we hyped up a lot this year to have a comeback weekend. What they're calling the white Ferrari, the Haas. I want to see the Haas step back up. You know, both guys out of the top 10 last weekend. That could have just been, you know, that track didn't play to their car. Let's see if all this hype was real. These first three races, they look so legit, or you know, they look so legit coming out of the gate. So I'm excited to see if they can come back and at least get somebody back in points, right? And honestly, I want to see Mick get back up in points because Mag's been pretty much, you know, pulling his weight.
He needs it. I mean, Mick's got 0 points in the driver's standings, and it's just like the car. It's there. It's a good car. I mean, it's Ferrari power base. I think he came off a pretty brutal wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see Mick coming on like a 10th place, even just get 1 point, man. I mean,
yep.
That battle for that position between those cars, 1 point makes a world of difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I almost feel like Mick has come across more bad luck so far this season than poor driving. I mean, you even look at like qualifying, on Saturday where it was like, he almost had that. Was it during the race or during qualifying where he nearly nicked? I don't know. He almost crashed into somebody because someone just completely cut him off.
Incidents. Yeah, obviously he had that crash, but before that, I think maybe race one he had a little incident too. So yeah.
Yeah, well, there was something that happened in Australia as well where he someone came like all of a sudden like right in front of him. I just saw it recently in the highlights, but point being, again, that's completely out of his control. Like he immediately was on the radio like, dude, damn, that was close. Like, I almost just wrecked the car. And so I have full faith in Mick that, given the way that this Haas is driving and the way that, at least K-Mag's been driving it, it's clearly there as a potential for a points finish, So Mick is, I believe he's got the skills to take it there. It's just a matter of time here.
Yeah. I really think that midfield is so tight that maybe unlike the cars up top, the difference in that, the midfield is for the taking. And I think it might be more about driving in the midfield because those cars are just so tight that AlphaTauri and that Alfa Romeo, two cars that I think could very much compete against each other on the grid. The Haas, the Alpine, like you can match any of these cars up against each other, and it comes down to driving. It comes down to strategy. So I think we really can't predict where any of those teams are going to end up at the end of the year right now.
Yeah, I mean, the one driver that I want to highlight a lot. I mean, he's showing fantastic pace. The car is clearly there because his teammate is way up in the driver's standings, but he's just getting brutal luck right now. Is Fernando?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, like we all were like, Fernando's gonna have a great race in Australia. I'm putting Fernando in like 6th place, and it's pretty much almost reversed.
Brutal.
Yeah,
Esteban, brutal.
Okay, Esteban, you're kind of boring, dude. Like, not gonna lie, you're kind of boring. But it's just a bummer to see Fernando just having like car issues. I think it was like a gearbox or I'm not sure what it was, but he's only sitting at 2 points, but it's like you see him in testing or in practice, and it's like, okay, this car's got pace, he's fast, but he's hammering down laps, and it's like failure.
Right. Yeah, and
I think this is equally as it is for like Mick Schumacher and the Haas team. I think we know that Alpine is there quality wise and pace wise. I think this is a big weekend for Fernando to really just kind of show, hey, look, I'm a world champion. I can drive this car. I can put it into the points, not just getting a 10 slot and 1 point. I think this is like, hey, I can really push for that 6th and 5th slot and get our team some points. Because I mean, the big thing for them is beating McLaren.
Yeah.
And I think
Well, it's like I'm sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Kel.
No, go ahead. Joe.
I was just going to say quickly, just before we move on, like, it's not the sexiest thing, but like, the what everyone pays attention to is those top three, teams, right? We're talking about Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari here. One could make a very strong argument that the most exciting battle so far, at least what's been fun to watch so far, is who's that top midfield team? Who's the fourth best team right now? At least through 4 races. I mean, it has been flip-flopping and juggling like crazy. Again, we all pay attention to those top 3 teams, but to those points, it's like, pay attention to the midfield, man. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think that's a good transition as we head into predictions here for this race for top 6, because it's so up in the air. So Carl, I think I'm going to give you a layup here. I think you already just talked about him enough. You kind of have to take him.
Oh yeah,
Taking top 6.
100. Oh, for top 6 position right now.
No, I'm just saying who's going to make it in the top 6 this week outside of the big 3.
Okay, outside the big 3, I mean, yeah, I think we're gonna see Lewis in the top 6 at like a 4th place again.
No, but I'm saying outside of the big 3 teams, who's going to make it? Is there going to
Oh
be?
shit! I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah, like what's your extension?
Someone sneaks in.
And I was thinking about this before we started recording, and I still haven't made up my
Tough
mind.
this year, man. It's tough this year.
I mean, dude, I want to keep saying I'm gonna stick with it. Fernando Alonso's coming into it. He needs it. I think we'll see him in like a P8 slot on Saturday, and he pushes in there. I just pray that the car performs.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the talent is there in him. Like if Esteban Ocon is sitting in 7th in the driver's standings, like come on.
Mm-hmm.
No, he can make a comeback. He can make a comeback.
Yeah, I mean that's where it's like I actually, admittedly, going into this week, I really wanted to see Vettel in the top 6.
Yeah, I thought about that. Just not there.
But it's like I really did not like what I saw out of him, and that like not only was it clear that he needs a little more driving time because of his bout with COVID and he wasn't able to actually get behind the car. He was radioing in saying, "Oh, I can't figure out these brakes. Like there's something with the car he just needs to figure out." But that Aston sucks. We just need to talk about it. Like that Aston sucks.
We haven't really talked about it because it's not what we're talking about. It's
like, we need to have a discussion about how much that thing is sucking this year.
They're behind Williams.
I know it's bad. Like, so I mean, and I love Vettel, dude. So like, I mean, I was gonna initially coming in, I wanted to take him, but I can't do that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna find a way to get my boy Pierre into the top 6. I just, I love him. I just think he's such a strong driver. I just believe in him as a driver so much that like, he's going to find a way in there. He's done well here before. Let's see Pierre Gasly in the top 6.
I like that pick. I think that's
I'm gonna pick for Hoove. Hoove let me his picks. He's gonna go Lando. So he's thinking that they continue it from last weekend. So, we mentioned earlier, can McLaren keep it going? Who thinks that Lando's going to make it back in? If anyone's going to do it, Lando's going to do it. I really don't think Danny has the pace this weekend. I would love to be able to pick him. But I'm going to say it's going to be Yuki's breakout weekend.
Whoa.
There's been a lot of negativity around Yuki.
I think talking on this podcast about Yuki. We've talked a lot of shit about Yuki.
I've been seeing clips of the fans. They're starting to warm up to Yuki a bit. Yuki showing his personality. Him and Pierre have a bit of a bromance going on with the fans. They're starting to like.
I do like the bromance between the two of them. It is fun to watch. They do have a.
I think this is something we do in F1. I originally didn't like Max. We start out a little hot on these guys and then we warm up to them a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Yuki do that on track though, because he's had some solid performances over his F1 career. But he hasn't really had that breakout performance. I think it comes this weekend.
He's fast. He just needs to control the car.
Yeah.
Can I throw one more just in, this is not my pick,
Yeah.
but just one to
Flyer.
float out there and watch.
A little sprinkle.
Let's watch out for Zhu Ying or whatever, the China.
Guan Yu, baby!
Guan Yu, yeah. Let's
So,
watch out for a top
Is
6
it
here
Joe
coming in
Guan
soon
Yu?
for him.
'Cause
Joe
we-
Guan Yu, I know, I still haven't.
Well, we got to
learned
get.
to
You gotta know
pronounce
this.
his
So
name.
you gotta know this. Joe.
I know.
I know he prefers to be called Joe. I think Joe.
Well, Joe. All right, so Joe is easy.
We're just
for
gonna
me
call
to
him Joe.
pronounce.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll call him Joe.
Yeah.
Let's get my boy. Just watch out for Joe finishing maybe top. Top 8 anyway.
Yeah.
Just watch out for that. He's been in the points. What, like almost every race?
Yeah, him and those alphas have been very consistent this year.
Yeah,
Very
he's
consistent.
having a great rookie season, man.
He's got a good mentor.
Mm-hmm. He's got your boy, dude.
All right.
Carl loves Botas. I love
And he's just
it. I love Botas too, dude. I'm with you.
Let's get into podiums.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go first. I think we're gonna go 2 Red Bulls and a Ferrari.
Ooh.
We're gonna go Sergio 3, Max 2, Charles wins at home. I don't even know if Carlos makes it in the top 4 though. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I think he's gonna continue to struggle.
Before we end this, I think we should have a quick discussion about Carlos and what's happening here. But I'm gonna go. I'm actually similar to you, but except for the 2 Red Bulls in there, I think we're gonna go Charles 1. I think Max comes back here for 2, and give me my boy George 3. I think George finishes 3rd.
Mixed up. We're all mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely ride Charles in first. I think that's huge. I want to put Max in second,
We're all there.
and I don't want to say he's in third. No way.
Who are you thinking? Let me just hear it.
George.
I knew it. Come on, just fucking say it.
No!
You want to say it.
No, I really kind of like Kel's pick of Checo in third.
Yeah.
He's doing well.
Stay safe because
Really well.
He's a solid pick, man. And like, let's be real here. Like, if we can get the Red Bulls out towards the front of the grid, the thing that Checo does better than I think anyone else on the grid is he understands exactly what his role is. Obviously, he wants to win races, but he also understands we need Red Bull to win a Constructors' Cup.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I?
He defends very well.
How can I contribute to that? How can I hold off? Because like the Mercedes and the Red Bulls are close. Like that is a cool battle to watch. And it's like, hey, we saw what he did last year. I said it last race. Is he knows how to defend. He can defend off Lewis and hold off those Mercedes, those 2 Mercs. So that we can really have a hunt down in the first. So yeah, I'm gonna go Charles in first. I frankly kind of think unless if we see a good performance on Saturday or Max, he'll walk away with it. If we can see Max taking P1, we're in for a good race.
Yeah.
Love it.
Then there's gonna be a moment where I had my reaction to whose podium because it was pretty wild. He's going Sergio 3, Carlos 2, Lewis on the podium.
Wow. See, this is where I would love for him to be able to back that up.
Yeah.
Because that makes no sense to me because I don't know where he's coming from with the Lewis.
Really
Number
convenient
one.
that he decided not to show up.
It sounds to me like he's anticipating once again a Max Charles collision or some type of incident happening.
Yeah.
So you can assume that for him.
We can assume at least that much, but wow.
And then we'll talk about Lewis is crazy.
But
Just throwing that out there. I guess that'll bring up Carlos. We'll touch on this quick.
yeah, let's just quickly talk about this because Carlos has been, I mean, he DNF'd dude last race. And I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like I came into this season thinking that Carlos was, and I still do to certain respects. I still, at least history tells us that he's the more consistent driver out of the two Ferrari drivers. You know, I mean, if we're just going based off of resumes. But I mean, yeah, something's going on with Carlos this year, man. You know, I don't know what's happening. Still early, but
I think there's a confidence thing that he didn't realize how quick Charles was, and now he's trying to play catch up, and he's making mistakes that he wouldn't make because he's trying to pick up pace maybe and do things that he normally wouldn't do. So maybe I think he needs to just level set, focus on himself, and maybe not focus on, you know, that drivers championship right now. Let's just focus on being the best form of Carlos Sainz you can be. Yeah. Because he's making mistakes, like you said. He's been incredibly consistent. He's making mistakes that we just don't see out of him.
He needs to drive his race. I mean, he was getting third place and still complaining. Remember that? Like after the first race, he was like, something's wrong. It's like, dude, don't be taking that negative mentality into this race, man. You know what I mean? Like,
enjoy the car you have.
Exactly. Let's keep the mental positive. You just got third place. You just got on the podium. Like, there could be an aspect of that going on.
Yeah, put this and tag him. Put this and tag him. He needs a little pep talk from the boys.
I think he's also in the similar position that he found himself in McLaren. You know, a younger driver comes in, clearly is now, you know, the main driver. He's the first class driver, is Lando, and they're going to invest their time and efforts sincerely into Lando. And, you know, look, that paid off. He's fantastic. Lando's a fan favorite. He's definitely a top 5 driver on the grid. That's like no-brainer option. I'll argue that all day long. It's the same now that he moves in to Ferrari. You know, he came into Ferrari when Charles was there, and Charles is very well established with Ferrari. They're very much invested in him. They've extended his contract. You know, these are all signs that, as a driver, if anybody was in that situation, it's just like you're thinking in the back of your head, you're just like thinking off the racetrack, all these different parameters that are coming in that are now weighing in on your subconscious as you drive a car. He just needs to focus in on driving that vehicle. You know, last year he was fantastic because he was super, super consistent.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
He needs to be his typical smooth operator.
Yep.
It's a good way to end it, Carl. It's a good way to end it.
I absolutely agree.
But to say this, I'm never going to pick. I feel so bad. I love Sebastian Vettel, but I'm never going to pick an Aston Martin this entire season.
No, me neither. Unless I agree. Unless I see something crazy, like they are super bad right now. Like,
it sucks because, dude, they just put so much money into the team.
Should we pick? Can we? Are we still doing the asshole of the week, or are we gonna forego that?
Did we have an asshole last week?
Nicholas Latifi.
I know Carl has one. Yeah, outside of Nicholas
running
Latifi.
Asshole of the week. Yeah, I don't think we had one too bad last week.
No.
Well,
named Latifi.
I did read Miami is 95% complete. The track is pretty much ready. There's a lot of people trying to protest this race because of the noise. Fuck those people. It's Miami. People stay up till 6 in the morning.
The noise. Do you understand?
The judges hearing this case don't want to hear it. I've been reading the articles. Believe me, we are on.
It's just go ahead.
Put their house on freaking Airbnb.
You live next to the Hard Rock Cafe.
Have you heard those cars? I'm sorry. What noise? What noise? This is music that you're listening to, echoing through a city. We heard it in Texas. These cars are not noisy. Okay, this is not a Honda Civic.
Oh, it's a nice
sitting there that's all souped up, trying to just rip down the road.
It'll put you to bed.
We'll just get the sound guy from Austin to come down to Miami, and he can do the sound for them like he did in Texas.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a solid little stretch we got here. Solid little stretch.
What
and
time
we get
is
in the
the
dark.
race time for you guys this weekend? It's
I don't know. I have it. Let me see right here.
Imola.
9 a.m.
Oh, I can just watch that in bed. Oh,
I love that. I love that.
What
All right,
time is
Bill.
it? 9 a.m. Shit. Okay. Nice.
Watch it from Waffle House. Jim.
No, I know. I'm usually I keep booking tea times around the race. I got to figure that out.
All right.
Excellent.
It's going to be a hell of a race this weekend. Let's see if Red Bull bounces back. Let's see if Ferrari continues the dominance, and let's keep having a hell of a season.
Let's go Red Bull. Come on.